Okay, are we on? I think we're on. I think we are on. Can anybody hear me? So I'm good? Okay. Then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my very first live stream for the first time in over 2 or maybe 3 years. For those of you who are coming in, welcome. And if you want to keep seeing more live streams, please subscribe to my channel and smash that like button. Thank you. Today is going to be a very short one. I'm not going to really be on for very long because I have stuff to do. So I'm going to be doing a simple, tiny little topic. My top three pros and cons of Linux. I think this is going to be a very interesting topic for everybody, so I hope you all enjoy it. Okay, I think we'll get started. We'll get started with the pros. Pro number one: updates that don't require any rebooting. I think that's a very good thing for Linux because I really did hate it when I had Windows. I would have to reboot every time that I updated, but but thanks to Linux, I don't have to do that anymore. So it's very convenient that I could just update and keep going. So that's pretty much what I got to say about that. The second pro of Linux, I would have to say, is I would have to say the second pro would pretty much be that the gaming side of Linux is getting much better. I mean, several years ago, it was just horrible, in my opinion. But it's gotten a lot better to where most of your Windows games are being able to be used on Linux. So that's pretty much very simply said right there. But yeah, gaming has definitely gotten better. I got a few games to work on Steam and a few to work on Linux, so I'm happy about that. The final and third pro, I would have to say, is the best pro for Linux is it is starting to become very reliable for so much hardware. I could not describe how much hardware is compatible with Linux. It is just, in my opinion, it is very amazing. Like, very amazing indeed. Just give me 1 second to pop out the chat here. There we go. Okay, as I was saying, I think, in my personal opinion, hardware support for Linux has gotten better and better. I think the sky is the limit from here. I really do. So I think the more hardware that comes to Linux, the better. So that's pretty much my top three pros. Now to go to the top three cons of Linux. Con number one. Let me think. Con number one. Con number one, there are certain Windows programs that I would love to see in Linux, but sadly, the only way you can get certain Windows programs to work in Linux is through Wine, which, for those of you who don't know what Wine means, it means Wine is not an emulator. It's basically a compatibility layer that you can use to get Windows programs running on Linux. So that's basically simplified there. I would really like to see a whole bunch of Windows related software being ported over to Linux. I mean, there's so much that can be done in that department. I mean, who wouldn't want like Adobe Photoshop or like their favorite music player or maybe their favorite game on Linux? I mean, that would be amazing. So that's one of the downsides to Linux is not very much Windows software is compatible with it. I mean, a whole bunch is starting to, but it's still not enough. Con number two for Linux. Even though there's a lot of Linux distros that are very, very stable, there's a whole bunch of bugs and glitches in each one of them that can most potentially switch a user over to either another distro or just right back to Windows. So basically, what I gotta say about this little situation is I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done with all these distros and their problems. That's pretty much it. Con the final con for the pros and cons subject, and the biggest con that Linux has is Linux doesn't own very much of the market right now. I mean, yes, Android owns a huge chunk of the market. That's true. Android is a Linux standard. Chromebooks are getting a lot better. But the Linux desktop by itself does not own as much of the market as Windows does, and that's very sad. It had a huge opportunity to own the market, and it sadly failed. So, would I like to see a national Linux desktop overtake Windows? Of course I would. Really, I would. But sadly, there are just certain things beyond our control that we really can't do anything about. So anyway, people, that's my pros and cons of Linux. Now, I will say one thing. I would love to do another live stream at some point. I think the next live stream I will have might be an open chat, or it might be a live edition of the Linux report or tech report, something like that. I'll see what I can come up with. So anyway, people, I think that's pretty much all the time I have here. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. If you want to see more content from myself, please hit that notification bell and smash that like button. And with that being said, this is Yu-Gi-Oh! Master 88 saying see you later.